advising clients on contractual issues, transfers, sponsorships, contracts itself, broadcasting rights, very much an evolving matter. These days, it's not just a question of signing a contract here. You've got the complexities of what's known as image rights. So there are some tax benefits to be remunerated through an image rights package. Usually it's a limited company which is owned by the individual player. There's been a lot of issues with RC over the years who generally don't like image rights. Usually there are highly critical time factors. So if you take soccer, for instance, contracts can only be signed during what's known as the windows. We have transfer windows. So we have a short January window known as the sort of winter window, which opens on the 1st of January, finishes on the 31st of January. Summer is a little bit easier because there's usually about 3 months to buy and sell players through the transfer window. But with it being time sensitive, lawyers are often on standby. There's been many occasions, just 24 hours to go on the deadline, and I've received a telephone call from an agent or a player to say, come and help me. Even been in a meeting literally at 5 minutes to midnight, sending through email, or then it was a fax, registering the transfer. And these are zero tolerance type approaches usually from the FA Premier League or FA. It has to be lodged by midnight. And so as a lawyer, you can get a call at 6 o'clock on the 31st of January, come and help with this transfer. And one has to have a lot of experience to try and get that deal over the line. Often it's a bit of horse trading as we get to the sort of final minutes, and it's often who keeps the nerve more. But we've seen many deals collapse because there's just not enough time, or the player can't get his medical sorted, or there's a delay at the plane. And I think if you look back, I remember Dan James was going to sign from Swansea to Leeds United. He was in the building, everything was agreed, just medical done. And then I think Swansea, the chairman, just literally pulled it with half an hour to go. And so it's never a done deal until all the parties sign. But it's usually very exciting, very nerve-wracking. More often than not, deals are negotiated. There's usually a lead up to it. There will have been some kind of confidential negotiations behind the scenes. But when you are on transfer deadlines, that's what it is. And we've seen Sky Sports make a big sort of drama out of it. January is certainly more complex because it's only a short period, and I think a lot of managers really don't like buying in the January window. Other sports don't necessarily have that strict deadline, but then you do have, say, in rugby league, usually it's like the third week in July. Super League club is not allowed to acquire any more players, and that's designed clearly to balance out the competition. What they don't want is clubs going on a big spending spree. In terms of sponsorship agreements, broadcasting rights, we're seeing increasing kind of tensions. A player might have his own clothing deal or a boot deal, but that might then conflict with that of the club. And so players always, and athletes need advising on that. Broadcasting, usually that involves the leagues or teams, but if a player's going to broadcast something, they've got to make sure that it doesn't really breach their contractual obligations contained within their own contract. But it's definitely life in that sector, and that sphere has certainly become much more complex and quite difficult. A lot of athletes don't necessarily understand a sponsorship agreement between a club and a sponsor will always trump the sponsorship agreement involving the player.